What up, everybody? This is the Bains and Beers Podcast. Your host, the most and none, Bains. I'm today here with my co-host and a very special guest today. I'm today. Fuck you, man.
All right.
We're here with Gary St. Lion, the one championship fighter. How's it going, man?
Not bad, man. Good to be back.
Excited?
Yeah.
How do you like the new setup? You know, excited?
Nice, man.
I
thought I was gonna Joe Rogan my tip. Won't you get?
We're better, right?
Right?
We're just fucking Joe. Fuck, man. What do you? So first of all, congrats on the win.
Thank you, man.
Good job.
Thank
It's
you.
a good fight. Knocked him out.
Yeah.
So how was it? How was the feeling when you knocked the guy out and you're like, oh, I'm in this, and the fans are cheering?
It was. Well, you got to know what happened before the fight to know what that moment felt like, right?
Okay, what happened? What happened before the fight?
Let's talk about a day before.
A day before, sure. Okay, so even before that day, so basically I did 7 weeks in Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Invested thousands of dollars into the camp, from coaches, food, stay, accommodations. Then I flew my team to Phuket at Tiger Muay Thai, so we could finish off our last 2 weeks of training, so I can get acclimated because my fight was in Yangon and Myanmar. So you're invested thousands of dollars, and then I make it through the weight cuts, I make weight, I do everything. And now what usually happens the day before a fight is you start reloading. So usually you've cut about 10 to 15 pounds, and the next day, or that right after the final weigh-in, now you get to eat, you get to carb up. Usually you haven't had a carb in about 2 weeks while you're still training in heavy humidity, you're sparring full on. And basically as soon as I started eating, my body was not digesting anything. It just, so about 5 o'clock I started having my first meal. Nothing was going down. Everything was, by 1 a.m. on the fight day, I was admitted into the hospital. I was just puking my guts out and nothing was staying in. I'd be walking down the street, I have like a shake, I puke it in the bushes like 5 minutes later. And then what happened was one of the one championship staff saw me doing it. They're like, we got to take you to the hospital. So they took me to the hospital emergency. And yeah, basically they were hooking up IVs, because usually what happens is after the weigh-in, you start packing on weight. I started going the complete opposite. I was even more dehydrated because I wasn't holding anything in. I wasn't able to eat. They were putting IVs on me. As soon as the bag would empty, I'd puke out the bag. Then they started putting like vomit medication that they usually mix in with the IV. I kept rejecting that. They had to give me electrolyte stuff. So now you got my coaches watching and you got one championship watching. And they're ready to pull the fight. They're ready to cancel it because I'm in no condition. I call my wife and I'm just distraught. I'm just like, dude, I've done everything. Like, I cut no corners for this fight because I knew how big it was, I knew what stage it was, and I knew who the guy was. And everybody was, like, you know, doing the sympathetic, like, don't worry, you'll fight another day. There's another day that you can fight. It doesn't matter. I'm like, dude, I traveled thousands of miles, put in all this time, put in all this finances.
Money, yeah.
I'm still going to have to pay the coaches. I'm going to be in a complete F-sit. No one's going to give a shit that I was sick. They're just gonna be like, dude, pulled out, man. Like, that's it. Like, I'm gonna have to make excuses for every individual that's gonna come and ask me the same damn question every day.
You'd be telling the excuse right now.
Exactly. I'll be telling the excuse right now. And so basically I had to fake it out of the hospital, act like I was okay, make it back to my hotel room, and then one championship wanted a decision the next day. So we're already in the next day. We're on the fight day now. And I get back to my hotel room about 7 a.m. And I haven't slept all night. I haven't hydrated. I'm still low weight. So basically, my coaches said that they were going to go work out, and they said, when we come back, you're going to have to make a choice. And you're going to tell us a choice. And whatever that choice is, we're not going to ask you any reason behind it. We're just going to go with it. You say you're going to fight, we pick up our bags and we go. You say you're not going to fight, we pick up our bags and we go home. And that's it. And that's what my management said. That's what everybody said. So it was one of those moments, man, where I had to really kind of sit back. I was scared. I really was scared because I was in the best condition of my life, and on that day I felt like I was in the worst. Like, I felt like it was horrible. It's not how you're supposed to feel on a fight day. Like, usually when you have stomach poison or anything, you can barely walk around, let alone go in front of the world to fight. Yeah, you're weak as hell. So then he went and worked out. I'm like, okay. He comes back. He's like, what's the choice? I'm like, we're going. So now it's about 1 p.m. The bus to the venue leaves at 2:30. I haven't ate anything. So I went and met a nutritionist who was also the commentator. And he basically told me, he's like, listen, man, you got a bug in your body. Whatever food you put in your body is going to reject it. So you have to basically go into this fight completely empty stomach. It's the only way you can survive this fight. He's like, you can have a little bit of rice. So I had a little bit of rice in my body, electrolytes, and that's all I went into the fight with. Completely empty stomach. And you guys saw the results of that, man. And it was just, it was
Yeah, you want to pull it up?
It was one of...
Pull up the fight on there?
It was one of the scariest things because I was literally sitting in that change room, and the corner that you take with you has to kind of be your energy, right?
One championship same line, right?
Yeah. They have to be basically your energy. So I could see the fear on my coach's face, but he wasn't going to act that way, right? And
how'd you react to that, seeing your coach scared?
He wasn't showing it, but I could feel it.
Yeah.
Basically, right before we walked out for the fight, we looked at each other. We're like, this is either going to be the greatest story told, or this is going to be the worst story told. Yeah. But I'm not going to make no excuses about it. I chose to do this. This is not on you. This isn't on you. This is strictly on me. If I go out there and get knocked out, my body shuts down. It's all on me. Yeah. And even in the first round, my body was dehydrated. It was cramping up. And
you look good, man.
Like basically right before the fight started, I crouched down. If you see the starting of the fight, I crouched down. I hold the cage. I'm like, this lion's gonna eat today. Like I had to really get my mind completely kind of in a different place. Even when he was walking to the cage, so I was the first one in the cage. Yeah. He was the second. I literally was trying to brainwash myself. I was talking to him. I was like, he's stepping in my house. I'm going to eat this guy. I'm going to eat this animal. Bring him in here. Bring my food in here. Yeah. Like, I just had to. But you can see, like, I'm way skinnier. Like, I can way better. He's taller.
You look like you never blew up.
Yeah, like, exactly. In the fight, did you feel like you were stronger? Huh? Did you feel stronger than him? Like, did you feel like
we didn't really get into grappling exchanges, but on the couple that happened, he did feel stronger, especially when I ended up in his guard, and he almost had he had me in an omelet plata, and I had to really be smart.
Push out of it,
I had to be really smart there, because he could have taken my back, and it kind of shocked me a bit that his legs were as strong as they were from the wiriness that he had.
So my question is, knowing like what your body was going through, did you have a game plan going in? Did you change it up? Like, I have to keep it standing, or what was your game plan?
My game plan was just go out there and
fight.
Just fight, man. Right? Just fight. It's a completely different world when you're in here. Yeah. Like, they always say that everybody has a game plan, but once you get in here, that game plan goes to shit.
So how big of a difference is fighting from where you used to fight, like in BFL and stuff like that, to this?
It's completely different, man, because when I walked out, basically what they do is, this arena had about 10,000 people in it. Yeah. They were streaming my fight. I forgot what the number came back to, but it was over like a few... How many people were watching live?
I was one.
And then and then the views afterwards, right? But the craziest thing is when you're walking out, they dim the whole lights of the entire crowd, and they get those, like, you know, those hello sticks, you know, the glow sticks? Yeah. So they give it to everybody up at the top and the bottom. So all you're seeing are these 10,000 glow sticks. Yeah. And if you see my entrance, when I'm walking out, I'm just looking, I'm like, whoa, like, this is nuts. And then the sound in there and the sound system, and it woke me up, man. Especially when the crowd put their hands out. Yeah. And that was a big factor in it. So right there, 2 seconds before that, he caught me with a flying knee in the head. Yeah. From that, my reaction was to take him down. And then from here, I'm still dazed a bit, and he gets me in. See, this was a scary moment, because this is where he's the best at the ground game and stuff. So he's trying to work to my back. I have to keep my base there. Yeah. And luckily it worked out the way it did. And it's because I had been in these situations so many times in training that these were all instinctive, that I would end up in these kind of spots.
So I know exactly what to do.
You're just going, right? So right here, he was trying to set up a triangle. I already knew to posture up. And see, you can see the confidence from his face kind of disappear. Yeah. Because the ground game is where he had his best chance. Yeah. And when he couldn't take me down after a couple times, I just kept sprawling.
You had the striking.
But you as the fight went on, you looked like you got way more confident.
The third round, it was like I had
the first round felt like you kind of like, you know, just trying to test yourself a bit.
Just to see how my body would respond, honestly. A big part of this camp was, and I got to give a shout out to this person, was I worked for a sports psychologist for the first time. Fight Mindset. And this guy is based in Seattle. And basically, I have to compare it to past fights. Past fights, I get this crazy anxiety building up to a fight. I get very nervous. It's almost like a paralysis feeling. My body starts shutting down. Like you're just like, your cardio disappears because you're just like, you're so tense. Right? Even though in sparring you feel good, you're doing round after round, but in the fight it never transfers over. It never looks the same. This was the first time where what I look like in sparring all the time is what I look like in the fight. Because I was so loose. I was moving how I do in sparring. This is exactly what you see of me in the gym. Usually you never see that in the fight. You usually only will get that feeling in the gym. It's because the sports psychologist, like I did so much mental training for this where he did so many techniques, he worked on so many things, and I had never met this guy person to person yet. I've only FaceTimed with him. We used to do 2 sessions a week. We did it for 5 weeks straight and just kind of playing out the fight. So the craziest thing is...
Yeah, you look pretty loose in there.
Yeah, so the craziest thing is the finish of this fight, we rehearsed that mentally over and over. How much I believed it, I don't know. But when the finish happened, I'm like, holy crap, this is exactly what we pictured.
Was it the second round or third round?
Third round, like a minute in. And just like seeing all the punches and just being able to see everything and countering the way I did is how I look in sparring, but it doesn't usually transfer over. But then I would work with this guy right before sparring session, then go to sparring, and I'd be like, dude, what are you doing with me? Like, and it would be like 45-minute session. So basically he did a lot of different things, but one of the best things that he did with me was that usually when you're visualizing, and visualization for anything is huge, right? Let alone a fight. You usually move forward. So you're like, okay, we'll say for a fight. I train for my fight. I warm up. I go out there. I whoop the guy's ass. I win, right? It's a forward event. What he did was we worked from the outcome backwards. So he's like, okay. He's like, you've already won the fight. Picture the ref raising your hand. Feel that. Feel that. So you make me close my eyes, but you do like these warm-ups before, so it'd get my mind more to that place. So but the warm-ups
it's not distracted.
Kind of like a meditation.
It's like it's almost a hypnosis. And so he's like, you feel that, you feel the crowd, you see, and then he would make me see it from different perspectives. He'd be like, okay, look at your hand being raised from your corner's perspective. Look at your hand being raised from the top row. Like somebody that's sitting up in the top rope, what they're seeing. You being this little ant in the middle with your hand being raised because it's so small. You seeing it from there. Now let's go back 1 minute. Now let's go through 4 finishes. So one of them was that finish that happened. He's like, because we're allowed knees on the ground. I wanted to finish a guy with the knees on the ground because in like the UFC and stuff, you're not allowed to. It's illegal, right? But...
I thought you were DQ'd when I
See, it wasn't DQ'd. See, in Asia, that's allowed. Soccer kicks aren't allowed, but knees on the ground.
It's kind of like pride rules.
Like pride. Yeah. And so I visualize these things. And so and then he's like, okay, go back a minute. Now set up the combination. The combination was the hook, too, that I dropped him with that led to the flying knee. And so we would do this for like 6-7 weeks out of a fight.
You want to put it forward to the knockout?
And that was like the craziest part of the whole thing because it literally happened how we visualized it and we trained it, and it was just nuts to do it backwards. And even like on the fight week, I was like, why am I not nervous? Even that day, I wasn't petrified, like knowing the situation that had happened, knowing that I was just in the hospital, knowing that I was going to be weaker. And I was in the back. I'm like, dude, why am I not nervous? Like my coach is like, just go with it, man.
So we like molded it into your like subconscious mind.
Yeah. So one of the biggest things I deal with is my anxiety. So he worked on my mind a lot. He would make me visualize me sitting on top of a mountain, putting my anxiety in a basket and floating off onto a river and disappearing in the ocean with all the possibilities of how my fights would end. And it would make me really believe it. He would do it very detailed, where it would take like an hour or so for him to detail the whole thing. And dude, it was weird because when the time came, when I know what I feel like usually on fight week, and when I see my opponent, I wasn't feeling any of those things because this ain't my first dance. I've done this anytime. This was my 15th fight. So you understand a pattern you're going to start feeling.
Are you smiling? Did you just smile right there?
Yeah, probably did.
He smiled a few times. He got comfortable. He got better.
I did get comfortable, man.
But that's an experience.
I was having fun in there.
He's like, I'm winning.
But now you know that you can do it.
I can go to that place.
Did you know you were winning like while you were fighting?
No, I thought it was 1 round apart.
I thought you lost the first round.
Really?
For some reason, I was half asleep, man. It was 6 a.m.
Well, that was part of it. No, I don't think I lost any round.
I think it was very close.
But when I
close.
rewatched it, the first round, I was just like,
yeah.
Because the first round, you look like you're like kind of testing yourself
getting
out.
into it. Yeah.
Like this right here, I almost finished him right here, but then see right there, and then when he got this, he wanted to get me down so bad. But see, this is stuff that I was rehearsing. Like this is the push on the head, get up, and then punish him right away. Like go. So right here, posture on the head, and go for that.
So how do you feel like doing this? Like, did you have like any like rivalry with this guy before?
No, I had nothing against the guy. No, I had nothing against the guy.
Then, so how
if anything, this was one of my most high pressured fight because I knew the guys he had been in this cage with.
So how do you just go in there and just start fighting a guy, like no aggression, nothing, just start beating?
It's completely different. That's the difference between street fighting and like, I mean, you gotta be completely calculated and clear minded, right? For me, it's not. I got nothing against him. It's the fact that I'm representing what I'm representing. How badly do I want to do this? Yeah. He knows full well what's coming at him. Mm-hmm. I know full well what's coming at me. It's a different culture when you're in there. Like, see right here, we just turned it up here. Like I was just
ready to go.
Yeah. Right here, I'm just like, dude, my body lasted this long. It's gonna last these 5 minutes. I'm like, let's put this guy away.
Yeah, you can see.
Yeah.
So when you're doing this, where's the knockout coming?
Right here. It's coming right here. Yeah.
It was like a left hook, right?
It was left hook with a right cross. Boom. See, I tried it a couple times because he kept walking into it.
He's bringing his head forward, right?
And it's coming up right here. Yeah, I do the kick. Boom.
Boom.
Oh, dropped him.
And then right there, then chased it down. And this is where I have to be smart because do I take him into his world where he wants to be? I'm like, let's do it.
My question is...
But then pass guard right away.
Where was your cardio at this point?
I don't even remember. I think
because you're so weak, right? Like, was it just on like?
I felt good.
You felt good?
Yeah, it was weird, man. I felt good.
Damn, man.
I felt good, but I also felt mentally strong. I think I was tired, but I was just mentally so strong.
So you just got like this power from the universe, which when you stepped in.
Yeah, and also my corner just kept asking. They're like, "Give me 5 more minutes. Give me 10 more minutes." You've gone through all this.
Yeah.
Also, because I think the training in Phuket, we were training where it was plus 40 outside, and Tiger Muay Thai is set up outside, so you're sparring at plus 40 temperature.
That place is so cool, man.
It's so dope, man. So here now you're.
What went through your mind right there?
I just missed it.
My body gave up here, so people had no idea what had happened at this point, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone's like, dude, he's really celebrating.
Yeah.
I wasn't celebrating. My legs literally gave up on me. My legs gave out. Like, they actually gave out. Once the adrenaline dropped and I realized how tired. Like, look, I grabbed onto my corner to get up. Yeah. I grabbed onto his leg to climb up. So like, I was just that done, dude. Like,
that's sick.
Like, I've never felt my body give up like that. Where, like, something, like, it could have given up at any point in this fight, but it didn't on me. And right here, like, I'm just, like, trying to get up, and I fall right to my knees, and it would just...
When did it hit you? Like, I won.
Right about here. You'll see it on my face. Because I've never gone emotional. You'll see kind of like a mixture of, like, happiness and, like, weird tears and stuff. Right there. I'm just like, damn, bro. Like,
I did
you did it. Yeah, it wasn't about winning the fight. It's that we made it through all that stuff.
Bro.
Even there, I had a tough time getting up right there. Like,
that's respect.
Even there, I had a tough time getting up.
What'd you say to him?
He's kind of big.
Dude, he's big. Dude, he's the tallest opponent I've fought. And
what did you say to him at then?
Just said respect. Can't really remember what I said.
Yeah.
I always say something.
I just whooped your ass, man, on an empty stomach.
The thing is, he came down a weight class and he thought the flyweights would be weaker.
Yeah.
And I think he realized the flyweights are weaker.
So when you're sparring, are you sparring people that are stronger than you, bigger than you?
I try, but it depends on who's available, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no weight classes really in sparring other than like I'm not gonna spar like.
But you want to test yourself, right?
Yeah. There's gonna be like the thing is in Vegas, there's so many different dudes. There's like there's some top level UFC guys there.
Yeah.
There's guys that you haven't heard of but are just absolute killers.
Yeah.
So you get a mix of everything, right? Like I'll spar against guys like Thomas Almeida from Brazil. If you've seen that guy fight, flying knee finishes and stuff.
Yeah.
Then there's like Joe Benavidez. So guys like that. So when I go up there, he'll be getting ready for his fight. But there's so many different bodies.
So that's my next question is, so why one championship and not the UFC? So
it was an opportunity, man.
So I'm like a kid, right? And I'm coming up, right? Why do I choose one championship instead of going to the UFC?
I don't say that. I say there's so many different platforms now. It's a matter of what fits you. Before, it was UFC is the be-all, end-all, right? That's the only place you go. Everything else is number 2, 3, 4, 5, right? UFC is number 1, and that's it. I don't feel like that's the scene anymore. When I started, that was the scene. Even up until probably 4 years ago, 3 years ago, that was the scene.
Yeah.
Now it's like what fits you. So why did Mighty Mouse leave the UFC? Because the UFC doesn't fit his personality. Now he went to Japan, or he went to one championship, and dude, he's blowing up because it fits his personality. That respect that he doesn't need to put on this McGregor-esque kind of personality where he doesn't need to talk trash. He gets to be who he is, and the Asian crowd there appreciates him for what he is.
Well, so respect him.
He's being paid what he's worth, not what the UFC was. He's probably one of the pound for pound best, and he was not being taken care of financially that way.
He wasn't never being pushed.
And now over in one, it's a completely different thing. So it's like now we see that it's not about the UFC. It's whether the UFC will push you and whether you fit their mold. And trust me, there's so many guys in the UFC. It's gonna be hard to kind of fight your way through where they will put some sort of advertisement behind you and push you. That's the toughest thing. Where in one, I felt like it fit me. I pride myself on respect. I pride myself on representing my people in the most humble and the best way possible. You're not going to get a lot of trash talking out of me. You're not going to get a lot of that kind of stuff. I represent the spirit of my people and stuff like that. So it fits what one likes to represent, right? Respect, integrity, humbleness.
Focusing on the art of MMA.
Focusing on the art, but just kind of inspiring. Trying to be a hero to your people, trying to use the platform to inspire not just fighters but everybody else.
But if you look at it from a business perspective, I think fighters are becoming more smarter. They understand their value.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and they're starting to understand the more value. So now I'm being taken care of financially better over there.
Yeah.
Being taken care of promotion wise.
You're buzzing.
If you see, like, they're pushing me. I just had my first fight. They don't push guys in the UFC after their first fight. You really got to get up there.
You feel the pressure?
I feel the pressure, but I also appreciate it also. The pressure's going to come the bigger your name goes. If you're not feeling it, then
this is what you've been working for.
It's what I've been
working for. What you wanted, right?
So now when I went over there, so that fight, I had never sat in the crowd for a one championship event yet. So then a week later, they flew me out to their biggest one in Japan. And I got to sit in the crowd, like second row, and see the lights and see the crowd and see the end. I'm like, dude, this is next level. Like, I got chills. And then I would have to remind myself. I'll be sitting with my wife. I'm like, dude, I'm part of this roster. Like, I had to keep kind of reminding myself instead of going, I wish I could fight here. When I'm like, dude, I'm actually part of this, right? Yeah. And then they. So usually what you'll see in the fight game is promoter versus fighter, right? The organization and the fighter usually are never on the same side. I feel like at one they are. Like the staff understands the struggle of a fighter. Because a lot of the CEO, the VPs, they're all ex-fighters. You got people like Chaudhry, who's the president. He was a Muay Thai fighter. You got Misha Tate, who's the VP now. You got Rich Franklin, who is also the VP.
Oh, yeah, Misha Tate. Yeah,
Misha Tate's over there. And, like, so you got these people that have been through the struggle as every other fighter, so they understand it. So you get this different respect. So even in the back, when they gave us like a pep talk. They always kind of like get all the fighters together and kind of give us like a little pep talk before the show starts. It was completely different than what I've heard in the UFC, because I've been back there when a fighter was fighting on the UFC, and when Dana White comes back there, it's like, listen guys, go get your bonuses, knock each other out, go for the best finishes. Yeah, that's obviously what you're chasing, but there's way that you word it where you can see the fighter as a human, and where you just see them as a piece of meat, and they're just kind of like going out there and like you can replace him anytime. Where Chaudhry was like, listen man, go out there and represent whatever you're representing. Leave the best part of yourselves out there. Win or lose, leave it all out there. Even if you lose, we're not going to judge you by it, but you better put your best performance forward, right? So just kind of hearing that, it just kind of like, that's interesting that he would he says that, right? And that guy himself is so inspiring. Just when he talks, it's powerful every time. 100%. And you kind of get like this crazy morale in the backstage, even though you're a boost.
Yeah. So how was meeting Vitor?
Yo, before we talk about the conversation with Vitor, what did Vitor Belfort mean to you before we indulge into that?
Tell like a little bit before.
Yeah. So
because you said you looked up to him.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so I'll I'll compare like a George St. Pierre and like a Vitor Belfort.
Okay.
George St. Pierre is inspirational to me in the fact that when I found MMA, I saw who was the most respected guy, who was the guy that was representing the best, right? Yeah. So in MMA, GSP was that guy. Plus the whole being bullied and stuff. But I didn't grow up watching GSP, right? GSP kind of came across when I found MMA. Where Vitor was literally part of my life from the age of about 7 or 8, right? Yeah. And it's because my cousins were much older. My cousins were like his age, so they were about 19 and I was 8. So there's a 10-year gap there, right? And like usually when you're younger, you always want to hang out with your older cousins, right? And they don't want to hang out with you. They're basically babysitting you if they're hanging out with you. So the only way I would be able to hang out with them was if I could figure out a way to go rent Vitor's fights from the video store. So back in the day, there was no pay-per-view. There was no live event would happen, and they would record it, and then they would release it on VHS, not DVD even, on video cassette. And then you would have to wait till it made it to the movie store, like Rogers Video or something, and then you would go Blockbuster, and then you would go rent it. So that's how it used to work. So you would have to keep checking the video store if a newest event happened or whatnot. And whenever there was a Vitor one, my cousins be like, they didn't have $5, and they were like, go get $5 from your dad. And they're like, you can come and watch this with us. I hated it. I hated MMA.
Yeah.
I used to watch like wrestling, like Shawn Michaels and stuff. That was the stuff that I was into, right? Yeah. I wasn't into this stuff. It was boring as hell because at that time there was no rounds. Like it would fights just went till they ended. They weren't exciting. Like they were just like a lot of them were just boring kind of. If there was no build up. But I would always watch Vitor, and Vitor looked exactly like my cousins. My cousins were big bodybuilder dudes. That's what Vitor looked like. Vitor looked like, I didn't know what a Brazilian was. I thought he was Indian, right? So he looked like an Indian guy at the time. So I was like, it looks like my cousins. And then what happened was, so I grew up watching him. And then what happened was my cousin that I used to always watch him with, he committed suicide. And that's when I kind of like, everything just kind of separated from me. I was going into I always mix up the date. I was going into grade 8. Yeah. I was in grade 8 at the time. And I just come home and I'd found out. And that's when everything just kind of like Vitor disappeared out of my life because there was no reason for me to watch him anymore. Yeah. The only reason I would ever know about that. And then I just grew this crazy hate and anger about it. Just wondering, like, because up until like probably about 6-7 years ago, depression was never really a talk. Yeah. Right? It was a very taboo thing back then. So we're talking right now 2001.
So it was like if you watched Vitor, it reminded you of your cousin.
Reminded me of my cousin. And hated that. And I hated it, right? And so I just completely stopped watching him. And 2001, like depression was a very taboo idea. It was a very like nobody really spoke about it. And nobody really understood why somebody would do it. And then as I grew up, I started understanding it more. And having kind of dealt with it myself, I kind of understand where it can go. But everybody has different stories of why they could be dealing with it, right? Yeah. I figured out his story and stuff like that. And like what kind of people pushed him to that point. And it grew a lot of anger in me. It grew me a lot of things. So as I was getting older, I was just a very angry person where I didn't trust nobody. I had low self-esteem because I just didn't have no kind of grounds underneath me. And then push past forward, I went into accounting. I moved up to Vancouver and then came across MMA. And then I came across Vitor, and Vitor had that video. Yeah. And that video, basically, I watched it. I'm like, what is this? And then him talking about his sister being kidnapped and him finding spirituality and him finding forgiveness, knowing that his sister basically got kidnapped 3 weeks, I think, before his fight. Yeah. And she still, to this day, has not been found. And it was just crazy because he was talking about this, and he was talking about this, but he was talking about how he forgave the people, how he understood that they were with God, and just kind of talking that way, knowing that your sister's never been found and that closure is never there. Yeah. I thought it was just so crazy, powerful. Powerful, right? Yeah. And so I used to watch it all the time when I found MMA because I'm like, how's he learning this about himself? It's through MMA, so let me see what kind of journey I can go on. So I found Bibiano, and Bibiano is one of the most spiritual people that I know. Oh, yeah. And then I used to watch this video and kind of piece it together. So that's why MMA has been almost like a lifesaver for me. It saved my life from being like, I wasn't going to end up in a gang or anything, but I would have ended up being a very low self-esteem follower of a person who would have just kind of settled for much less than
followed the crowd.
would have followed the crowd, probably would have ended up in bad crowds. I would have been the person that would have easily been influenced. And because I work with youth now, and I see the ones that are so easily influenced. You can tell them to go pick up a bag, or you can tell them to go stay home and do something right, and they'll do one or the other. They're just so easily, you can so easily pick one or the other for them. And I probably would have been that person. And if it wasn't for that video that I would used to watch 3-4 times a day, and I used to watch over and over and over, and that's why he became so much more than a fighter to me. He was kind of like this lifesaver of mine that I'm like, one day I hope I can thank this guy. And there's been so many situations where I've missed him by 24 hours at times. I go to Montreal. I would leave Montreal. He'd be flying into Montreal to TriStar. So he would be starting his camp. I'd be finishing it. I go to Vegas. He just left Vegas. So like there was many times where we cut across paths. But it just never happened. And it like now I've been in the game for 11 years. It took 11 years. And it was just when the moment happened, it was just like, I forgot how old I was. I really forgot. Like my wife's sitting next to me. She's like, you're acting like a kid. I'm like, Johnny, like literally, this is the only person that takes me back to being 9 years old.
Did you ever talk to him before? Like on Instagram, nothing, right?
Never.
So never meant to happen.
Never had a conversation. Never talked about the story. I never really talked about the story ever either. Other than to coaches and people around me that had worked with them, and I was like, listen guys, I need to meet this guy. This is only like private conversations and stuff, but in public I never had spoken about it. I'd never spoken about my cousin before really publicly. And it wasn't up until all that, because what he said to me made so much sense, and I kind of had to live up to it. He's like, you have to use your pain to heal others. And I'm like, what's that an example of? Wait a second, this is the example. He spoke about his pain, about his sister going missing, and he's saying how he could still find himself and be a good person. And I happen to be that kid that found that story, and I found healing off of that. So that is the connection right there. Now, what I have to put my story out, I have to speak about it, because I don't know who it's gonna get to. Right? Like, I doubt he ever thought about, is there an Indian kid sitting in a small town in Williams Lake whose life I'm changing right now? He's from Brazil, living in Florida. I'm sure he never even thought about that. Right? So it was a very powerful moment for both of us. Like, he did like a Facebook Live that night, and he cried on it. I'm like, damn, I made the phenom cry, bro. It was a powerful weekend, man, because it started in Japan. And then we all got flown to Phuket for 3 days for the One Championship retreat. So I got to spend 3 days with them.
That's dope.
And just kind of just conversating with them. We became close. My wife got close with his wife. Like, it was crazy. And then it was his idea to do that video. He's like, we have to do this video. He's like, I already spoke to one. But damn, Vitor wants to do a video with me. I'm like, this shit's moving too quick, man. And then on the last day before he was supposed to fly out, he's like, we have to get this video done. He's like, we have to do it. And so, before, like, 5 hours before our flight, one sat us down. We quickly got our stories out. We got it done. Then they edited it, and then we put it out. And it was just crazy, man. Like, even today I put up an article. It's crazy to see my name connected to his name now. Right? I'm just like, to me, like, it's so far past fighting. It's so far past fighting. It's so far past more to it. It's so more to it. It's not about him. He didn't inspire me to do MMA. He didn't inspire me to become a southpaw. He didn't do any of that. He saved my life from being average, from carrying this hate and anger, from being basically a troll or a hater on the internet. Is what he saved me from actually making something of my life, right? Instead of being down and hating on everybody else, he saved me from that life to actually believe that I could become something.
You can trust.
Yeah, I can trust that I can find strength. I can find strength. I can take my pain and be able to inspire people. And that's why I've been more open about talking about depression and anxiety, because I don't know who it's reaching. I don't know what person, like, I'm sure people look to me and like, that guy's very mentally strong, and someone that's dealing with it. But they don't know that, listen, I dealt with it too, man. I had some of the toughest years. I dealt with it when I was growing up because of my cousin, like the whole situation. And then from 2016, was it 2019 now? 2016 till about the end of 2018, even during my wedding, I was dealing with it. Were the toughest 2 to 3 years of my life. Where if I could get 24 hours of some sort of like relief of like happiness, I'd be like, be able to breathe. Anyone that dealt with anxiety and depression, they know what I'm talking about. When you have anxiety, you feel like you're just being choked out. Like all the time. You feel like you're being choked out 24/7. You can't get your words out. You feel like your throat's stuck all the time. You don't know why. You feel this heaviness. You feel darkness and depression on top of it is like this cloud, and people are always like, but dude, just smile, just whatever it is that's causing it, cut it out of your life. It doesn't work like that. That's just a bad day. A bad day is different than having depression. Depression is like if I go sit in that corner, my depression comes with me. If I go sit in that corner, because guess what? Your mind goes with you everywhere. You can't step out of your head. Your head is your wall. Your head is your freedom. Your head is your prison. Your head is all that shit.
Thoughts are
your thoughts are everything, right? So it's not like you can step out of it. That's why some people find the option of ending it, because there's no way to get out of it. You can't step out of it. It's not a weak, like, I know people call them weak and stuff like that. I don't believe it's weak. I just feel like some people just get to that point where the options have run out.
Because at the end of the night, man, you're going to sleep by yourself.
You're going to sleep by yourself. You're living on yourself. I've sat across from my wife and she doesn't understand me. And I totally get it. I totally get it. How's she going to know what's going on? Like, she's doing all these happy things. She's trying to make me smile. Why am I not smiling back? I've been on... I think for me, I realized just how unescapable sometimes it feels like it is. I can be on like a vacation, having the best time, sun's out, and I was sitting in a kayak in like the middle of the ocean, right? And I'm like, it's like the most beautiful thing, but then all I was feeling was depressed. I'm like, why? Like, and then I realized, I'm like, your mind doesn't leave you. I can't leave my mind on shore. I can't leave my head on shore and come out here and just escape from it. It came with me, right? So it doesn't matter. And that's what I think the biggest stigma that people don't understand is, like, people are like, smile, dude, like, stop being such a downer, stop being so this, stop being so negative. I don't think it's that. I think there's a difference between having a bad day and actually having depression. It's different things. It's different than having bad outcomes and circumstances and depression. They're completely different things. If you could shut it off and turn it away, then I know a lot of people.
So how do you find ways to deal with it? How do you cope with all that?
For me,
and just one more thing, what were you going through that 2016 to 2018?
So I had, for me, one of the things was I was having post-concussion syndrome. So I had taken a lot of damage in sparring, and that's where CTE and all that shit happens, right? So I was dealing with that. I'd come off my first loss. My nose had to get surgery and stuff like that. So I was dealing with my first ever pro loss. I was coming off CTE from training. So I would be standing at a subway, a metro, SkyTrain, or whatever, and the whole room would start vibrating. I would be looking there, and the whole room would start shifting. I'm like, what the hell is this? And I started getting nauseated, and it started getting more and more frequent. And I was like, what is it? Then I had to go to a psychologist, and the psychologist was like, dude, you got, like, post-concussion syndrome, and if you take any more damage, there's no way you can even get tapped in the head.
And you continue fighting?
I did. Well, that's why I'm still here, right?
Damn, so doesn't that scare you?
It does. But here's where it kind of... There was a moment where, like, they sat me down. So basically what happens is... So take a professional athlete. You take a football player and you tell him that he can't play anymore. Right? So they have an identity crisis. Because what are they... Usually when you meet them in the street, what do you know them as? The football player.
Well, the suicide rates are pretty high of football players when they retire.
So... You meet them and you don't know them as this individual, this family man, the husband of two, the husband of blah, blah, blah.
He's
you know them as, you're on the Seattle Seahawks. That's their identity. That's all they've been known as. So now you got to sit these guys down and you got to separate their identity, because you've ripped away all they've been known about. You're like, listen, you can't play football no more. You're done. So that's what they sat me down as. They're like, listen, you have a life ahead of you. Because that's where the suicide comes in, usually for athletes, right, who have CTE, is they lose their identity. So then they're like, fuck, what do I do with myself? Like, I can't do what I love, I can't fight, I'm nothing, I gotta go back to a regular, I gotta find my life out, like, I gotta figure it out.
It's like a high.
Yeah, exactly. So then they sit you down and they try to separate you. So they're like, listen, you're getting married, you have a future wife, you have a life ahead of you, blah, blah, blah. And then one of them said, they're like, do you want to end up like Ali? Right? And they said that to me. And then I'm like, a legend? They weren't expecting me to respond with that. Right? They meant, like, do you want to die early? Do you want to end up, like, shaking and stuff like that? I'm like, die a legend? I'm like, of course. And then they're going to realize, listen, we're not going to talk. Like, he's a different mind. Like, he's not going to... He's on a different track. Like, he doesn't think different, right?
He's an alien.
So then basically...
What is wrong with this guy?
So then I was in Montreal at the time. And the only reason I was in Montreal was to train. But now you've taken that away from me. I have no job in Montreal. I can't get a job in Montreal because I don't speak like French. Because even to get a job at McDonald's, you need to speak French.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even get a basic damn job.
Oui, oui.
So exactly, and then
Oui, oui.
I couldn't pay my rent no more because
Yeah.
I had no money from fights anymore.
Yeah.
I was lashing out all the time. I was just feeling weak as hell. I wasn't able to ever train. I wasn't able to hold down a job. I was just sitting around doing nothing. It was a winter in Montreal, so it's gloomy already.
What year was this?
I believe this was 2016.
Okay.
2016. I basically had nothing. I should have just gone home back to Vancouver, but I had a relationship in Montreal that was the only thing holding me together. And honestly, the only thing that held me together is my girlfriend at the time, who is my wife now. The thing is, me and Charlie, we met in 2016. We got married in 2018. And I can say that those were my 3 worst years, and she stuck around.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy, because she found me at my worst, and she stuck around. And trust me, she could have left at any point, because she didn't have years indebted to me in any way. There was no, but she stuck around, and it got really bad at times. Like, only me and her know how bad it got with me.
Amongst each other?
And not amongst each other, just the way I was.
Yeah.
I went from this very positive individual to one of the most negative, narcissistic people you could be around. I hated being around myself, let alone having people be around me or people see like part of me and stuff like that. It's almost weird when I go back to like Instagram posts during that time.
Yeah.
Because if you read the Instagram posts, they're positive. They're like put out there. But people don't know, once that post was up, I was this negative ass person.
Yeah.
I was almost using Instagram as like a medicine tool. I was like, if I inspire people and keep sending it out, maybe that'll help my mind.
Yeah.
But I was putting it out there, but it was never helping.
You kind of just hated everyone.
I kind of just hated everybody. I always felt like everybody was out to get me. I just felt like there was so much negativity, like everybody was kind of judging me. But in reality, it wasn't real at all. I just made it real in my head.
Yeah.
So I came back here and still dealt with it. And I could just never get a break. There would be periods, like usually there's like periods. So there was a period that lasted almost 9 months.
Yeah.
Like 9 months. Like every day I wake up, it's different. Like when I wake up today, it's like I feel free, like normal.
Yeah.
I kind of give thanks for another day and stuff.
Yeah.
But every time I would wake up during that period, it would feel like there was this weight on top of me. My stomach would feel empty. I would feel like that really empty, sick feeling. And I would never know why, because there was no reason for it.
Yeah.
It would just be there. And on any day that I would wake up for some reason without it, I felt like I never wanted to let that day go, because they were so rare to me, because they were so rare not to wake up like that. And the thing is, it kept me from ever being too happy, because I always felt like something was going to come back 2 times at me, the other way around. If I'm happy today, chances are I'm going to have another 3 weeks of bad
So you're
days.
just thinking negative.
Always. I could never get out of that pattern.
Yeah.
I always try to snap out of that pattern, but the pattern never stopped.
Yeah.
And that's why when I get on like a momentum of positivity, I try to hold it so much.
As long as you can.
Try to keep it going as much as I can before like the next wave hits me. Right? And still to this day, we don't know like what it really is that causes it, but I'm sure it's a mixture of...
So you just got to find ways to kind of cope with
You
it.
kind of have to find ways to cope with it. For me personally, I was on a lot of antidepressants and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about me is, and it's about a lot of fighters and stuff like that, is we're very in tune with our body, right?
Yeah.
So you have to be in tune with your emotions and everything like that. I knew what it was. What I was taking was not the real me. All it was doing, it was kind of zombieing me out.
Mm-hmm.
So the best metaphor I could use for that was that it's like having a hole in a roof, right? When you take antidepressants, you basically put a tarp over top of it.
Yeah.
You don't fix the hole.
The duct
You know
tape.
the hole is still there.
Yeah.
You just put a tarp over it so we can ignore it for a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Where like I started taking like stuff like CBD oils.
Mm-hmm.
That stuff was probably the only thing. I remember when I took my first CBD, like the drops.
Yeah.
It literally felt like someone had taken a chalk brush and started wiping the board in my head. I was like, what is this? Because I never felt normal in so many years.
Yeah.
I just felt like I was fighting something 24/7. There was never a minute where I got off where I was like 24/7. I was fighting. I was exhausted all the time. I would do no activity and I would be just sitting in my living room tired because when you're fighting depression and anxiety, you're just tired because you're battling in your head. You're not battling physically in front of everybody. You're just sometimes you're just watching TV with family and they have no idea what you're actually battling with in your head, and you're just exhausted. And that's usually when you get tired and you get very like impulsive, you get snappy and stuff like that. And this was the first time where I'm like, I felt like this relief. I hadn't felt this in almost 4 years. I was like, what is this? I'm like, holy crap, Johnny. Like, I called her. I'm like, Johnny, like, this is the first time I feel like what I felt like in 2010, like 2011, like that young kid with ambition, that kid with positivity, that kid that felt like he had the world in his hand, the kid that was willing to take chances. I felt like that kid for the first time instead of like this old, withered person that was just barely holding on. Yeah. And that personally was one of the things that I would say I got off all the antidepressants and only stuck to that. CBD oils.
That's the way to go. THC, baby.
Yeah. Well, there's no more THC in my shit, but pure CBD was honestly what.
Just had to say it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. But pure CBD, man, it's. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And then I came across so many other people. I started coming across people like fighters in Vegas and stuff. That's why USADA and stuff has passed CBD now.
There's that one fighter, Anthony Joshua. He promotes a lot, I think, CBD.
There's a lot of fighters that do now. Because USADA and stuff, it's not a banned substance anymore because there's such a stigma on it. But the stigma's gone. The stigma's been dropped now. So that was one of the things where...
So you have to take it daily?
I don't take them at all anymore.
Yeah.
But during that time, if I do feel like it's kind of coming back, I'll go and do it. But it's not something I do daily. But I did do daily for a good year.
Yeah.
I would just do it in the morning. Empty stomach, first thing I would do. I'd do it before bed too. Yeah. And that's it. It was just drops. I never smoked it. I never did. I just put it underneath my tongue, let it dissolve. And I'm telling you, man, it was the only thing. I threw those antidepressants away. Never felt like a zombie once when I was on it. Yeah. Felt this energy, felt normal, felt like I could do something with my day, felt like I could have conversations with people, could have a relationship, could do all the normal things that a normal person should be able to do, right? Just be able to enjoy a day, being able to take in information, being able to give out, trying to react emotionally to certain things that require emotion without already having like this darkness about me. It's crazy, man. Yeah. Like, it was crazy.
How's your family taking it? Like, your parents, how are they all taking this in?
Taking what in? Like,
you're becoming a champion or signing out with one championship, and
they didn't get it at first. Like, obviously, my dad didn't know what one championship was. Yeah. But yeah, now they get it. Now they see like just how big it is and stuff. Mm-hmm. Right now they're in India, so I was able to send my parents to India for the first time, and like, it's like, there's a lot of people out there at my age that could do a lot more than what I've been able to do for my parents, right? But for me, like I was broke up until probably 3 years ago, right? Like I was literally living fight to fight, but then like I just told you guys, I didn't have a fight for a while because of my concussions. I wasn't allowed to because I could never pass the medicals. I could never do that. I had no job. I was literally being able to get like one person that I could train 3 times a week. In Montreal, I was living off of like $120 a week, if that. If the guy canceled, then I was living off of nothing. Yeah. So like, I wasn't able to do anything. Just being able to get a bus ticket or being able to get a metro pass or something was a big thing. Being able to go eat something was one of the biggest things. So now, like, you know, being with one, having a good contract and stuff. As soon as I made some money, first thing I did was get married. Yeah. I was able to give my wife like the ring of her dreams and stuff. So it's like, for me, it's never been, it's about the people that stuck by me that, like, I always wish that I could give back to them. Yeah. But I had never, like, I told my wife, like, when I'm telling you, I had, like, $5 in my pocket. And I was like, listen, if you stick by me, we will travel the world. I will show you the world. We will go wherever. And, dude, at that time, you can say it was complete bullshit. I don't even think I believed it, right? I was just lying to this girl that came back. Huh?
Did she believe? Like, or was there times where she doubted your relationship?
No, the thing about Johnny is that she believed in my dreams and me more than I've ever believed in myself.
She saw it in you.
There's been times where I've completely given up on myself. Yeah. Where there was months. I'm not talking like a day. I'm talking months, half a year and stuff. Like, I'm talking like that time that I was just talking about, where she used to send me messages every morning, just long essays on WhatsApp and be like, listen, you can't give up. You have to inspire people. Your story doesn't end here. We're actually talking about it just like a few days ago. We were in Montreal. We were going for a wedding. She's like, do you remember that time? Like, when you were literally yelling at me going, listen, I want to give up. I don't want to do this anymore. And I just kept yelling back at you going, no, you're not done. And you just like, we used to just go back and forth. I'm like, you don't get it. You don't get what I'm going through. And she's like, no, you're not. Like, you know, we used to have these moments all the time. Yeah. And she just wouldn't let me give up on it. And that's why like being able to do the things we do and just being able to like live much more comfortably. But I always remind myself of those times. I never, like, for me, I'm not into name brands. I'm not into getting expensive stuff. I'm not, for me, being able to, there was a time when I would open up, like me and her, we used to like go out for food and stuff like that. But I would only order things off the appetizer side because I could only afford that stuff. And I didn't like half the stuff. Because I couldn't afford anything else.
Made it seem like it's okay.
Made it seem like it was okay. But I used to, at the end of the meal, I'd be always hungry. But she didn't know that.
Go home, pizza pops.
Exactly, right? And like, it wasn't even pizza pops. The amount of peanut butter I lived off of.
Damn.
I lived off of peanut butter like crazy, man. Peanut butter was my breakfast, lunch, dinner some days. Cans of tuna and peanut butter. And just like, I never let myself forget those kind of times. So like, even when I'm making more, I try to save. Because I felt the bottom. And when you felt the bottom, you never want to end up there.
You understand
again.
the value of money.
Yeah, exactly. You never want to end up there again. You're just like, you're not petrified, but you're always aware. Like, doesn't matter how much you make, there's always a budget that's much smaller than what I'm actually making. Right? So I'm always trying to be smart because I don't want to feel that shit again. I don't want to feel it, but I also don't want to let myself forget. So that's something that's very important to me. Like, being able to send my family to India was like, to me, a dream come true. I'm maybe 31, and I'm sure some 22-year-old probably sent his family on a world trip, right? But to me, for my goals and stuff, because it stuck by me for so long, being able to do something like that, being able to give my wife the purse of her dreams, or go on a vacation of her dreams, or give, like, all these things were just like, thank yous, and I hope it just keeps getting bigger in time. But I always remind myself that, listen, we didn't always have this, or I didn't always have this.
Humble beginnings.
You have to, you always remind yourself. You always got to remind yourself, right? And just kind of, it lets you be grateful for the moment. I think that helps my anxiety and depression also, is that I have like this course of a life now to look back on. So like age of 22 to like 28, I can be like, remember those times? We're not there, right? But just keep the formula the same. Work your ass off. Always stay humble. Always greet everybody. Don't ever put yourself above. And I think that's part of the reason why people like my story. That's part of the reason, one, like, I got more fans than one and stuff, because I've never put myself up here. I always remind people I'm just a normal dude that just is chasing his dream and trying to believe in things as he goes. I'm no different. I faced a lot of the same things. I wasn't like, my dad didn't put me in like wrestling from the age of like 2 and told me, listen, this is where you're gonna go. Right? My parents never wanted this for me. I had to fight my parents. On this. There was a lot of rejection from them, then rejection from society, then rejection from close loved ones and family, and I had to fight through all those kind of things. And it was,
but how is it now? You probably have fans approaching you.
Yeah, it's different now. It's definitely.
Were people like coming up to you, taking pictures and stuff in Thailand? How was that?
In Thailand, it was cool. At the Nugget, then it was pretty cool.
But honestly, I feel like in the beginning it's awesome, but like eventually it probably, like,
dude, if you go on my Instagram, I literally respond to every comment. And I used to never do that. I just felt like it needs to be done. I just feel like if someone takes the time, like, I don't like. I know that some people are told by their PR, like, dude, you can't seem like you're so available, right? Because it takes away from. I'm like, dude, screw that. Screw that. Like, I try to respond to all my DMs in one way or another. I can't use, like, sometimes they go too much. Sometimes they're like, dude, can you review my fights and this and this and that. I'm like, dude, I can't do that. Like, I can't go, like, I can't have conversation for that long, but I will try to respond to you or thank you if you watch my fight, or like, I try my best to do those kind of things. I try not to be above that, right? It's like,
but the thing is, one day, I know you probably will. You're not going to have the time to be able to respond.
Even right now, I don't have a lot of time, but I try my best. If I'm on a flight, by there, just to respond to people, I'll try. Like, I'll try.
But like one day, you might not have that, and you're gonna remember it.
There's gonna be that one guy. Remember 2 years ago, you responded to me. Now you respond to me.
Yeah. So I definitely try to respond where I can. But
so where do you go from here now?
What's next, buddy?
What's next, man?
Just get ready for the next one, man. I think I'm possibly fighting in July again, in Kuala Lumpur this time. So I think.
Where's that?
In Malaysia.
Kuala Lumpur.
So I'm gonna be leaving to Vegas pretty soon to start camp again. And just to go through that, like, you have to build a mental energy to get ready to put yourself through all that again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of it too. You don't just kind of jump on a plane and like, okay, I'm ready to go, because it takes a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to cheat on your diet. It's easy to skip sessions. It's easy to sleep in. You got to like cut out all these bad habits that I personally develop with between fights.
Yeah.
I love eating junk food. I love eating like fatty foods. I love just having no meal plan or nothing. Now you got to cut all that out.
Yeah.
You got to jump on the bandwagon where you just everything revolves around just preparing again.
Yeah. So fighting in July.
Yeah.
What's the goal of the one championship? Where do you want to go to? All the way to the top?
I'll take it as far as I can go, man. I don't think people that started...
Has there ever been a 2-division champ in one championship?
Yeah, I think there
Yeah,
is one.
There's
Yeah.
gonna be.
But
If there isn't, there's gonna be.
But I'm just going to try to take this as far as
Yeah.
I can, because I think if you were with
How
me...
long's your contract?
6 fights. If you were with me from 2007, I don't think you would have ever imagined that I'd be even here, right?
Yeah.
So, like, even to be at this stage, I have reached the highest stage now,
Yeah.
right? This is the pinnacle. This is the pinnacle of my career. Whatever I make of this now, it's not like I'm under a smaller promotion trying to get here. I've made it here. I've gone one fight, and now it's time to just keep going with it. I just... Like, if I could go back to that kid when, like, I first started this, like, when I was 22,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, we're going to do this. I remember telling myself and another one of the guys that I was training with, I'm like, dude, if we make it to King of the Cage, that'll be good. King of the Cage is, like, the one of the smallest.
Yo, I
promotions.
remember King of the
Yeah, you
Cage,
remember King of the Like, to us, that was our dream. We used to sit in the park, we're like, dude, if we
Back
make
in
it King of the
Prince George,
Cage,
Prince
we
George.
made, yeah, exactly.
Rory McDonald, Cajun
Right,
Johnson.
Exactly. So there was a point where that was the bar that we were aiming for.
Yeah.
We were happy with that bar, right? So it's just like we were aiming low. We were aiming just to get in the cage one day, and we're like, let's just. So to be where I've made it now, it's just it's crazy. But I try to always stay grounded to the work. Always stay grounded to always getting better, because everybody has a number. Everybody has someone else's number.
Yeah.
And you just gotta keep grinding away, man.
Keep grinding, keep pushing.
Keep pushing, man.
Same line for you.
Same line, man. Well, we're
Yeah.
gonna thank you for coming on. Do you have anything to say to anyone? Do you have any promotion? Just the fights coming up.
It's a fight, man. I just want to
Tune in.
just
July.
tune in, man. Just download the One Championship app. The best part about this is because in
free.
Asia, they don't believe in pay-per-view. Because the pay-per-view model doesn't work.
IPTV, baby.
Yeah.
IPTV.
The model doesn't work over there. You can't get Asians to buy pay-per-views.
Yeah.
It's just the way the culture and stuff is,
Yeah.
right?
So how does the money make from YouTube streams?
YouTube streams, the app streams, the advertisements
Sponsors.
off that, sponsor.
They got a lot of sponsors
Just the
out there,
idea
yeah.
that it's going to be seen by millions
So
of people
many
because
people,
it's free,
yeah.
right?
I think it's gonna be the next big thing, man.
It already, I think, is the next big thing. It's just, it depends on which fishbowl you're watching
How
from.
does it get to Canada though? Like how does it get to Canada and the US?
Like, how do people watch it?
No, like I'm saying, like how do you guys get the market over here to,
I
you know,
think-
kind of grow it in North America?
I think just signing guys like Mighty Melts, Eddie Alvarez, you got Sage Northcott fighting in about 3 weeks. And then I think they're going to pick up some more guys. I don't think they're interested in coming here, though.
Really?
Not yet. I don't think they care.
Eventually.
Because you got to understand, they get about 14 million people that watch overall.
Yeah.
And when you take 14 million, that's 1% of the population there.
Yeah.
14 million is the entire population here. You know what I mean? Like, it's a 1%. Of 14 million is nothing over there.
Yeah.
So they haven't really even scratched the surface where they're still already tapping into so much, right? So I see them going to India before they ever come here.
Yeah, I was just about to say that India
Yeah,
has
India.
some SFL, whatever that is.
SFL,
But they don't care about SFL.
No.
Like, I'm thinking that if I win my next 2 fights, I think I'll be able to take one championship there.
Take it to Punjab, right?
I'll take it to wherever we gotta take it.
Set up a stadium,
Aye,
right? Jalandhar.
Yeah.
Well, go watch the next fight.
Bains and Beers.
The Bains and Beers.
Powered
by
by
the Vibe.
We had coffee, though.
This is same line. Training cap.
Bains and Beans. Bains and
Training
Beans,
cap.
bro.
We're getting ready too, man. We're
Yeah.
going into the fight with
Training,
you.
We're gonna go.
Bains and
We're
Beans,
coming
bro.
to Malaysia.
We're doing a charity
You
match.
guys should, man. You guys should come to Malaysia, man.
Yeah, you pay for my
Maybe
flight. You get a
we'll-
big
I
check.
think the reason they want me to fight in Malaysia is because there's such a big Indian following there. There is actually apparently a lot of it. I've
Yeah.
never been to Malaysia. Never been to Kuala Lumpur.
Let them know the Bains and Beers are coming.
Definitely.
Let me know. All right,
good,
we're the
man.
Bains and Beers podcast, powered by the Vibe, and we are out.
Thank you, guys.